May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you and your families. Hold on. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you and your families. And I hope everything is going all right with y'all. It's crazy, you know. I sit back and I reflect. And my people, man, we go extreme. You know what I'm saying? We go extreme in a lot of stuff. You know. So just briefly, people talking about the Trump. You know, support Trump or don't support Trump during you know, the medical, the health issues going on. And it seems people keep forgetting that politics is always at play. Even with something as serious as what's going on, it's always politics that's going on. You know, sincerity or insincerity, regardless of either or factor, politics is always going on, you know. And I don't know if, you know, people have a full grasp on the seriousness of things, you know, or the level of seriousness. So I'm going to just put my little bit understanding out there, and then we'll, you know, we'll arrive at something, inshallah. So what we got here is, on one side, we got Bill Gates. Bill Gates and Melinda Foundation. They support or put funds towards World Health Organization, the CDC, and he also has, as well as, you know, his wife, have an allegedly agenda, right? I'm going to just say agenda, right? So he's been pushing for this vaccine thing for a long time before Corona ever came out. I mean, he's been, you know, wanting, he does vaccinations, okay? He also has a patent on a certain strain of coronavirus. So he's had a patent on a certain strain of coronavirus for a long time. And he also does speeches, Bill Gates does speeches about infectious diseases and disease control, and has given speeches about, you know, the scenario where a virus used on a biological level as a weapon being released into the public. And this is before this happened. So I mean, a lot of stuff, pretty much, if you dig into his history. Matter of fact, he's from the state that I'm in. You know, he's currently in the state that I'm in. So you got that one spectrum of the healthcare system. Then you have independent doctors. Okay, then this is important for some people to understand. You have independent doctors. You got people that don't support their doctors, and they're, you know, but they don't support the CDC. They don't support the World Health Organization. They do their own independent, you know, studies of the issues of infectious diseases and stuff like that. So call it a contest if you want. The ones Bill Gates, so to speak, has more influence over or funds, leans towards the viewpoint that he has, right? And so you gotta understand, you know, they got the everyone's connected with that. They got this, if you notice, they got this connection to others within the United Nations, because you got to remember, the World Health Organization is within the United Nations, okay? And, you know, United Nations, like more and more they keep on speaking about, they want a one world economy, okay? So because of the quote unquote collapse or the minimization of, not minimization, but the lessening of the world's economies, the different countries' economies, have been hurt. So they propose this one world economy type thing, right? Of course, the United Nations, think about it, United Nations. United States is part of it. But within that, they always argue about strategies. So that's the key point. Strategy. How we're going to go about doing what we do. So right now you're witnessing an internal beef. That's what you're witnessing. An internal beef. Right? One side, Donald Trump. Other side, really, Bill Gates. And those who think like Bill Gates. And within Trump's own cabinet, you have some people who agree with World Health Organization. All right. So if you was looking at some of the things World Health Organization has proposed, one thing about people, just look at how this goes. World Health Organization is connected. CDC is connected. United Nations is connected. China has a lot. And by the way, I'm not a Trump supporter. None of that. I don't support nobody. None of them. Right? But I look at issues. Okay? I'm one of, anybody knows that I've been for a long time really anti-Trump. And I'm still not really with Trump. Right? But I look at issues. Especially issues that affect the now. Okay? Issues that affect the now. That don't mean that, and I'm going to make this clear, just because a coronavirus hit, don't mean racism went away. Does not mean that the political understanding that people have had has disappeared. So if you let what's going on right now throw everything else out the window, you're sadly mistaken. You got to understand about people's beliefs are people's beliefs. Okay? And people's comprehension are people's comprehension. All right? So even if it's an infectious disease going around, some people are going to look at it from an angle of what they can get out of the situation. Right? And politicians are trained, like I keep reminding people. Politicians are trained. So, for a second here, we got this this stigma going around now. Coronavirus is this black thing or something like that, right? Before it was all whites and Asians dying from it, right? And in the state that I'm in, they say mostly whites are getting it. In other states, they're saying it's majority blacks that are getting it. And then people are switching back and forth. 1 minute is white, Asian, black. So listen, don't fall for the game. Don't fall for the game. And always be aware of the politics. Because it's business as usual. Alright? So, let me continue. On one side, you got the CDC. You got the World Health Organization. You got the United Nations, because the World Health Organization is in the United Nations. And then you got the program or the agenda, if you want to call it that, or the strategies that they want to pursue in order to push forward what they want to achieve. Right? So, like I said, Bill Gates, who is in the state that I live in, deals with infection. You got the doctors that think like he thinks, okay? And then you got independent doctors. They're not part of the CDC. They're not part of the World Health Organization. They do independent research, okay? So anytime you deal with something like this, or I say anytime, you need to be able to get a hold of both sides, is what I'm saying. Those who are independent and those who are for the CDC and the World Health Organization. Because they're in the middle is what you'll find the solution. Okay? Don't go this way extreme and that way extreme. You see? Because, and here's why. I would say go to independent extreme, except for one reason. Is that in order for anybody into politics or any type of agenda to succeed, they have to tell some truth. And they have to give you some solutions in order for you to stay attached to them. You see? So an independent, that don't mean they don't got their individual agenda. Right? So here's what we're looking at. CDC, United Nations, World Health Organization. And when you think about that, think of Bill Gates. Okay? Bill Gates, who's funding these things. Been wanting vaccines. Has a patent on a certain strain of coronavirus. Has done speeches on coronavirus or viruses being spread as the use of as a agent of as a biological weapon. Okay, so that's known for those who have followed anything he said. Now this comes out. So what is the issue with Trump? And no, for anybody that just got on, I'm not a Trump supporter. That's why the title up there. And I've been really anti-Trump, but it doesn't mean I've been pro the other person either. I just look at the issues, you see, not support of a person, right? So here's the current problem. I forget now, the name escapes me, but there's a certain drug, a chloroquine, or somebody put it down there, I forget how I said, but it's a drug that treats malaria disease, okay? And the coronavirus has similarities with malaria, what it does to your oxygen, okay? For those who get that level of the coronavirus, some people are not affected by their oxygen level in their blood and what happens with their lungs, right? But some people are. So this malaria drug that the independent, hear me out, the independent doctors, so it's not like Trump is making something up. There are independent doctors who do independent studies who say the malaria drug would actually help, because there are people that have recovered with using the malaria drug, and there's no need for a vaccine. On the other side, you have Bill Gates. He says you need a vaccine. Things won't go back to normal until you have a vaccine. The CDC supports what he's saying from what I saw, and the World Health Organization supports what he's saying, and he funds them. China funds them. United States was also sort of funding them until this issue. Now the World Health Organization said, one of the doctors, I forget his name, he said that it may come a time that if people don't get vaccines, right, some to the effect of that the police or whoever may have to go into the houses that are quarantined, right? Everyone's quarantining, right? They might have to go into the houses and pull people out who they suspect are infected. Right? Come into your house, pull you out because they suspect you're infected. Bill Gates support. Right? So Trump, from what I understand, from what I saw, correct me if I'm wrong, said no. We're not going to do that. We don't need no vaccine. We don't need what you're proposing. What we need is the malaria drug. So he tried to go about getting it from India, and yeah, he's still the same silly Trump. He don't know how to socialize with people. You know, he don't know how to do the necessary things. You know, so he makes a threat to India. You know, he tells India, basically he makes a request. He puts in for the drug, right? Because that's what he wants to go about. And there are doctors who are supporting it. Now, the doctors that are telling you no are the doctors that support the CDC and the World Health Organization. Or they have been influenced by the World Health Organization and CDC, Center for Disease Control. So there is politics going on in this. Okay? So the doctors that support, like what Trump is saying, hey, yeah, there's complications. There's risks, there's heart, you know, complication risk. But what medicine does not have side effects if you're dealing in pharmaceutical? Right? All the pharmaceutical medicine has risks and side effects. But it is shown and is proven, although it's not passed by the FDA, but it's shown and proven through those who have used it to have recovered. And there's also people who just took vitamin C, you know, and did the natural thing like that, and they recovered. Okay? So it depends on the, you know, like they keep saying, your body, you know, your immune system, etc., etc., etc. Okay? Now, what's happening also is there's fear being drummed out there by the news media. And this is I just saw this the other day. Look at this. So Fox News, which supports Trump, Republican, they put out Trump's type of understanding, okay, for the main part. MSNBC, or what is it, CNN, excuse me, put out the World Health Organization and CDC's concept of the situation. And CNN is mainly, you know, liberal / Democrat, whatever you want to call it. All right, you're getting your news, okay, from politically slanted TV stations. And now the medical is the people in medical at the top are involved in strategies, and they are differing, and then me and you are caught up in the middle. Now some of us want to support Trump that never supported Trump before because of this crisis. And this is crazy. Both ways. It's crazy. You're caught up in the middle of people who want to play games, political games, at a time where this coronavirus is going around. Right? So that's the issue that you're facing right now. Right? I want y'all to know that. And when you see this stuff about, oh, mostly blacks are dying, there's an aim for that. Where I'm standing at, it's mostly whites that are dying. First whites, then Asians, and blacks on the bottom. Go to New York, mostly blacks are dying. And then you got the specific news stations that report what they report on that level. Then you got what strategy they want to take. Some are about the malaria drug, Quantaquil or what was it now? I didn't grab my other. I should have had my computer here so I could look it up. But you know what I'm talking about. Just look at the malaria drug that they're talking about. And then the others want the vaccine. All right, vaccinations. And then I haven't confirmed about this microchip thing, so I won't even speak on it because I haven't read it myself. But somebody said something about a microchip. I don't know. But the couple people, you know, that I heard said they're not really into conspiracy theory, but they said it too. They said, oh yeah, it's a form of a microchip type thing. It can monitor the disease or whatever, or if you got it or something like that, right? So I haven't really confirmed that, so I'm not really going to say that's a yes or a no. But that's what I'm hearing. You know, the microchip type thing is designed to be able to detect if you got a virus or if you got this or that, you know. Some slick way to get it in there. So that's what you're looking at right now. That's what's basically going on in a nutshell. And I wanted to tell y'all that because I've seen too many people, you know, they're taking both news sources and they're jumbling it up, they're mixing it up, and then they're supporting one against the other, right? And so right about now, I think from what I'm seeing, and as much as I really hate to say this, I mean, I really do. Trump is right on this issue. This issue. All that other stuff, he's not right about. But on this one issue, he's right. Because I don't want the CDC or the World Health Organization or whatever. I'm just going to level it down to Bill Gates. The Bill Gates way. That's what I'm going to call it. Okay? Vaccination, pulling people out their homes under a suspicion. No way. No way. You know, and I want to correct a concept that's also starting to be pushed about Trump. Stop saying Trump. Somebody told me, and I don't want to make it a this issue, but I got to say it because they said it. Trump is for black people. Listen, look here. Just because Trump had told the CDC and the World Health Organization, no, I'm not going to do that, and I'm going to show you that we're not going to do that to the point that I'm pulling funding. So Trump pulled funding. Okay? Because, and he's right on that. The CDC and the World Health Organization went China centric. They went with, China agrees with that, and China's been funding. Okay? Now, I don't know, what's her name? The last name is Ling or something like that, but her first name is Shi. Okay, her first name is Shi. She's from China. She was here in the United States working on virology. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it exactly right. But it's where they, they mess with viruses. Okay? She was over here working. She went over there to China in Wuhan from here, United States. She was working on viruses because that's what she does. She went to China and Wuhan and was working on virus there, and her and several of her colleagues went to a certain area of China, and I don't know exactly which part, but there's villagers that live around these type of bats. Okay? They found the virus. The villagers around had been dying, having breathing problems. They had been dying from some type of virus. So she actually was able to get the virus. They took it to the laboratory, and they gave it proteins, which make it, I don't know all the technicalities, but basically fed it proteins so that it became stronger. Okay? And then next thing you know, this stuff started happening. First case was related in Korea. I'm not sure if it was South Korea or North Korea, but it was in Korea. Then it became known that Wuhan had the virus going around. But there's a certain area that's around there, and I don't remember exactly the name of the area. They were already having these complications because they live near the caves of the bats. So it's a combination of proteins. It's a combination of a certain type of, there's different type of bats. So this is from what I read, there's different type of bats in this area, and so therefore they carry different type of strains of coronavirus. Okay? So there's all type of strains of coronavirus in this area in China. But a specific type attacks your, it makes it so that for some reason a lot of people can't breathe. Okay? And she took that type, and it was given proteins. Now, why the heck she gave it proteins, I don't know. From what I understand, the theory is if you feed it and people get it and people's immune system develop or whatever. But she fed it, her and some of her colleagues, fed the virus a certain type of proteins, made it stronger. Next thing you know, we got this all everywhere. So the reason why I bring this up is because if you hear Trump and the others, and the CDC and Trump, or China and Trump, so when I say CDC or World Health Organization in China, I'm just saying, or I say Bill Gates, I'm saying China and United States. You hear the blame. Trump is saying China started it. China saying the United States started it. Why? Because they share a common person. I forget her last name, but her name is Shi, and she's a virologist. She was here in the United States working on viruses. She went over to Wuhan, China, working on the virus. Went on the search for the virus, corona. Okay? So, it looked like to me some funny thing is going on. it seemed like two partners had agreed, who were part of at first the CDC and World Health Organization. They was all together. United States leader in China was in bed together, and they was sharing whatever about viruses. And somebody got greedy somewhere, or somebody stepped on somebody's toes somewhere. Something got out of hand, and they can't control it. But then somebody also has some type of I don't know if you want to call it a cure, but a way to make the virus, go all the way down, right? Go away to a certain extent, right? Because people in China is recovering, right? Then of course you got the other news. They try to say, oh no one's recovering. That's just false news. That's fake news. But it can't be too fake, because there's other places in the world where people are recovering, right? So when you're dealing with stuff like that, you got to make comparisons. Okay, is this the only area people are recovering, or is it that people are recovering in many different places, just like people got the virus in many different places? So it's a fact. People are recovering in different places. So it might not be a lie that people in China were recovering, but they were the first to recover, right? So that's what you got going on. Corrupt politics, messing with nature. It got out of control. Somebody backstabbed somebody, and now the medical, they're caught up in the middle. You got some of the doctors and stuff who are aligned with the politics, like in the World Health Organization and the CDC and the United Nations. That's all political. When you get doctors that are mixed up into politics, medicine that's mixed up into politics, it's a bad thing. Then you got independent doctors that are not agreeing. They're like, we don't, that vaccine thing Bill Gates is talking about, no, we don't. All we need is the malaria drug. There's people that have been treated. Yes, there's risks, but there's risks for every pharmaceutical drug. So let's get it going. And so therefore, Trump didn't come up with that idea by himself. Come on, he's not going to be able to come up with something like that. He's not that bright. I'm not trying to slander somebody, but he don't seem that bright to me like that, right? So he was listening to an independent doctors who were probably telling him this, and so he took a stand on it. He said, no, we're not going to do that, and I'm going to show you that we're not going to do that, and I'm going to pull my funding. And so that's where you're at right now. And then some people are saying, why'd you pull the funding? That's just stupid. Because some people think that the World Health Organization, under the United Nations and CDC, they think that they're the only ones that have a say on medicine. They think that everybody's under that. Everybody's not. You see? So, definitely just, keep your ears, open. It's just a lot of politics going on right now, I think I basically said what I had to say. That's about it. I wish I could see, you guys' comments. I see y'all came here, but there's no, I can't see comments. So, for some odd reason, it always blocks me out from that. SubhanAllah. But yeah, Bill Gates is, Donald Trump is the same Donald Trump. He just happened to come up on the right solution this time. But he's the same person. Right? So, that's my point in making this, one of my points. So don't be all out here talking about, I support Trump. People threatening people. If you don't support Trump, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do... Oh, you forgot who this guy is? No, I don't support... and he's conservative or whatever, Republican, and then the other opposition is liberal, Democrat. I don't support none of you. I support what's right. We don't have to be in no box. You see? They're trying to box you in. You don't have to be in no box. Don't want your one world government. Don't want your monopoly of the medical industry. You see? I don't want none of that. I want independent doctors. That way you can't politicize medicine. You can't politicize the medical. So yeah, I want independent doctors, just like there should be independent scientists. You got scientists also, is done made corporate, There's people that are scientists that are kicked away from the science industry, from the scientific community, because they have proofs on other things, and most of the scientists are up under, corporations. See, and so that's what they're doing with the medical too. CDC, United Nations, World Health Organization, they want to control all the medical, the whole thing. They want, and people have been, see it connected off. I know what's about to happen. I've even been said it that people been just calling conspiracy theory. I said they've been going for a one world economy, one world government, and stuff like that. So you got to understand there's strategies and tactics that were taken to make this happen. People are not just gonna do that willingly. People are listen. They've been wanting one world government, a one world economy. So there are strategies that were taken to make that happen. One of the things they did was fear. I really believe they meant to release the virus in order to be able to use it for fear, but it got out of control. It was not able to be controlled like they thought they could control it. Allah had to show them, you don't have control over this. See, whatever title for the creator you have, you want to call it. The one who created everything, who existed before any language existed, to call him a name. There you go. Right? People get stuck on names. But, so, that's where we at right now. I mean, some people are healing from it. Some people are, bouncing back from it. Alhamdulillah. Some people did the vitamin C and natural medicine. Some people, took even the malaria drug. Some people, didn't take nothing. It all depends on your body, But definitely don't get caught up in the politics if you can avoid it. I'm still for independence of my people, and that should be worked towards, definitely, especially what's going on now. But the way things going in the world, they don't want people to be independent. You see, so though I'm not a Trump supporter, my point is in all this is you have to be critical to know how to. Don't look at the person and say, I don't like this person. I mean, yeah, you can say that. I don't like this person. I don't like, how they act or, how they behave, how they act or how they behave, and different things like that and what they say and what they think. But never close your mind so much to the point that you don't look at the issues that they're talking about and to see if this one instance they're right. Because the person that could be wrong 3, 4, 5 times can be right one time. Person can be right 5 times, they can be wrong one time. See what I'm saying? So don't choose the person. Look at the topic that they're talking about. Look at the issue and say, okay, get the information, get differing information, opposite information, and weigh it and judge it. And say, okay, is that person this time they right or they wrong? Forget if I like the person or not. And it's not about my likes or dislikes, because my own prejudice, my own dislikes or likes could block me out from actually seeing the truth of the situation. You see? It's about the truth of the situation. When you understand the truth of the situation, you get to, it's a matter of life and death, saving and not being saved. So you don't let your own likes and dislikes. Like, I don't like Trump at all. But on that issue, I agree. On that issue. That don't mean I like his politics. That don't mean you're going to see me become a Trump supporter. And that's what I want to say. Stop being so extreme. Some of y'all are so extreme. Just because a person's right on 1 or 2 issues, you want to support the person and go 100% for the person's platform, and then threaten other people if they don't go with the person. That, you know, oh, I see some comments popping up now. I wasn't seeing no comments before. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Sister Mariam. May Allah bless all of you and your families and keep them in health, and if they're not healthy, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bring them to better health. You know, but the people who unleash this, the people who play with viruses, the people who do corruption on earth, you know, us as people who live on this earth, we got to come to an understanding. You know, there are some things you have the freedom to play with, and there are certain things you just don't. And there should be stiff penalties. And I'm not talking about no government handing it out, because usually it's a government that's supporting doing the wrong. I'm talking about people of the earth. We live here. We share the water. Okay? We share the earth. You have no right to pollute waters. These people have monopolized this, and that's why people are sick right now too. Besides the wrong and corruption that's going on, and you know, but that's part of the corruption. We sit back and we let these people monopolize the water, monopolize the sky, monopolize the earth, and they monopolize the food. All of us got to eat. So no one should have monopoly over it. This is a shared thing right here. See? This is a shared thing. Now, things that are your individual, personal, private stuff, you do, I guess, you know, there's certain ways you should live with that too. Because you have to be a just person inside and out. But if you're going to mess that up and mess yourself off, then mess it up and mess yourself off. But when it comes to the earth, when it comes to the water, when it comes to the sky, we all share. No one has a right to mess it up. No one has a right to corrupt it. No one has a right to tamper with it, alter it. Because if they do, it affects all of us. And the last time I checked, you didn't sign up to be affected by what somebody else is doing. And I didn't sign up to be affected by what somebody else is doing. So they're interfering with our lives. All right? And for that, there must be a stiff penalty. Okay? A stiff penalty. It's unacceptable. People, yeah, God has control, or Allah has control. He decides when people die. But you know what He also did? Or it, the Creator, did, whatever name you're using. It has a will, a law. The will of Allah is part of the laws of nature, or part of the will of Allah. Okay? The body has been constructed. The earth has been constructed in certain ways. Allah has set up the process of a law of how things will operate. Okay? If you mess with that, Allah has operated a decree or a law of how things will react. That's why, like me and this brother and sister was, you know, we was talking about the death, right? And I'll give you an example, because this actually fits with what I'm talking about right here. Okay, so we know Allah wills for you to die, right? He says, okay, soul come up out the body, right? But there's a process usually that happens before the soul comes out the body. The body has to be injured, and the body has to lose a certain amount of blood or oxygen or whatever, and shut down, right? If you take something and kill that body ends up shutting down, right? Then automatically, usually, Allah says, "Oh soul, come up out the body," because that's part of the law. You see, so that's why, although Allah may take the soul out the body, you also will be punished on the day of judgment for killing the body. Because no one told you to shut that down. Because Allah is the one who made nature. Allah made the laws of nature. The laws of nature are part of the will of Allah. It is the will of Allah. So Part of the law of nature is if you stab me in my stomach or shoot me or I fall down some steps, if I bleed out too much, okay, and it gets to a certain point, my soul leaves the body. That's one law that is laws established with the body. So you're guilty of killing the soul, although Allah says, okay, this is how the soul comes out of a body. These are rules that are put in place for the soul to be able to come out of a body when it's time. And that time is dictated based upon what you do to the body. Right? Now, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has something special in store for you, He can stop it. Okay? He can stop it, make something heal in a certain way, or whatever, whatnot, you recover, and it's a miracle to doctors. They're like, oh wow, you should have been dead. Right? Because they studied the body, so they studied the laws of Allah in nature. They studied the will of Allah in nature. Remember, the will of Allah is in nature. Right? They're like, wow, according to this law of physics, the laws of how the body operates, you're supposed to be dead. But somehow you're alive. That's because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, we're going to put a stay on that. We're going to go ahead, the time has not been reached. So that injured person, they'll heal. Right? And some people have the understanding that, Allah might give you something like 70 years, as a point that you could have lived. So, on the day of judgment, He could show you, you could have lived this long, but you did this and this and that. So that sin or that wrong caused your life to be shortened down to this point. And it was my decree that you die at that point because you had shortened the possibility of life that I had given you. Right? So it's sort of like a line, 2 lines that Allah gives you. Some people understand things like that. But either way, we're dealing with, you don't have that right to corrupt the earth. That's why the Quran is really tough on those who go throughout the earth spreading mischief, commit facade, fitna on land and sea, destroying crops and cattle, altering the nature that Allah has created. You don't do that. You don't get to do that. And if you do that, you're endangering everybody. You're not just endangering yourself. So the question goes back to who gave you that right? And the people, the corrupt ones who run things right now should be held accountable by the people. Because we all share this. Right? Because this is ridiculous. This is crazy what's going on. It is. You're quarantined in your house. Because somebody somewhere decided they want to have a God complex and play with viruses. All them dang things need to be shut down. I know some people say, oh, well, we study viruses because, when people catch it, we can come up with something so that they can get over the virus. Okay, I understand that. But that's for people who, what you want to call it, sincere or trustworthy people. You see? And I really don't believe you even should have that. You don't need that. Before there was virologists, there were people getting sick, and there were people that were dying, and there were people that were recovering. Okay? So, we need to go back to the natural medicine that we've been given. That's what we need to go all the way back to. Because you know what? The pharmaceutical companies, the pharmaceutical companies, they actually, where is that located at? I forget what university. I don't know if it's Harvard or it's Yale. But they actually have the herbivore. They have the herbivore there. The herbivore is where they commission, well, I'll say they collect. But in connection with that, there are people that go all over the world to Africa, Asia, a lot of the places that have traditional natural medicine. Okay? They collect all of that stuff. They bring that information, and if I remember right, specimen too. They bring some of the specimen too, the examples, right? Even some of the medicinal practitioners, they bring them to the herbivore. Okay, they share all the knowledge and information of what type of medicines they have and what effects it has on the body. We're talking about natural medicine. They take these natural medicines and then they combine them with chemicals, and that is what you get your pharmaceutical chemical drugs from. See? So my point is, the next stage of that is what? Virology. Okay, they want to mess with viruses. They want to add proteins. They want to look at this. They want to see how even certain medicines react and act with it. Right? What I'm saying is, yeah, we don't need your chemical drugs, really. The chemical parts. If you're going to collect natural medicine everywhere around the globe and you're adding chemicals to it, why don't you just up the dose of natural medicine instead of mixing the natural medicine, cutting it, and adding chemicals? Right? And we don't need virologists. See? You need to just beef up the natural medicine then. If that was the case of helping people, just beef up the natural medicine. Right? Because that's what we've been doing since ancient times. And me and you are here right now. We had natural medicine in ancient times. And me and you are here right now. We came from those people. We're here right now. We got here just fine. Yeah, they've done innovations in medicine and stuff like that. And, for a while now they've been doing, vaccinations. And for a while they've been doing, certain type of shots and stuff like that. But what we don't understand the history of is, for the main part, that was for gain. And I said this on my other video, but it was breaking up. I don't even know if this is breaking up. Yeah, this might even be breaking up. But I would share, but I can't even get no feedback on here. I don't see no words or, I see. Yeah, I don't never see that. But that's what I was saying. Last time I was connecting something to this issue, about the Scottish Rite Freemasons, and it just really don't deal with them. It deals with the culture and the historical aspect of life and death. Because then you'll understand who's running this stuff and why they do what they do. Why would they poison the food? Why would they put chemicals that they know can kill you? Why would they put GMOs? And why would they put, you're sitting there thinking, okay, we all eat this stuff and they're poisoning it. Why? When it causes these type of problems, and you got to understand who runs stuff. So I'll just basically put it there. So the English, the British. Okay. So I've been cleared all the time. Alhamdulillah. Oh, I can actually see your comments, sister. Alhamdulillah. So basically, I'll share this then. So on my other feed that kept breaking up, I found out later, and they've been doing that to me. That's why part of the reason why you don't see me post a lot. But you gotta understand Viking culture, and I know it sounds crazy, but just bear with me for a second. So you gotta understand that. Let's see, we speak English right now. We're speaking English. You gotta understand, when the English, they originate from the Vikings. The Germans originate from the Vikings. And there's a reason why I'm saying this. The French, the Swedes, they originate from the Vikings, right? And Viking culture and in old Viking beliefs, okay? And this is important because you got to understand what a secret society is. All a secret society is the people, the common people, adopted a certain religion. Let's call that Christianity at one time. They adopted Christianity, which came with a moral code. And all the monotheistic faiths share that moral code. Don't steal, don't kill, don't commit adultery, don't murder except for, life's been taken. Those are all the Sirat al-Mustaqim rules, or 10 Commandments. There's different names for it, right? But it's a moral code that you go by, the rights and the wrongs. That concept spread to where the Vikings lived. Okay, some people adopted that. So, for the main part, secret societies had to be formed who want to keep their original understanding of life and death. The English, the British, the French, and they formed fraternities, organizations based off of that concept. You see, they like the Freemasons, the Scottish Rite Freemasonry, right? Okay, so then they conquered the world. So they kept their secret societies, and they conquered the world. But the world, by this time, is into mainly 3 monotheistic beliefs that all share basically a common concept of what morality is. Don't kill, don't steal, don't, adultery, etc., 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 etc. Okay? In old Viking culture, there was no such thing as right and wrong. All right? In old Viking culture, you have to understand the creation story to understand. See, when you want to understand a people's concept of life and death and right and wrong, you have to look at the creation story. A lot of people don't know that. The creation story tells you the mentality of what people think is right and wrong to an extent. I'm giving an example. In Viking culture, they believed that, check this out, the gods, quote-unquote gods, made people, or made things, and they have differing beliefs, but I'll come to what they commonly agree on. But Odin was made. There was a guy named Odin. He was a war chief. He was a sorcerer from the Goots. Goots are related to the Germans and the English and stuff. Matter of fact, Goot, the word changed and it became the word God. Partially. But there was a guy named Odin. He was a war chief and he was a sorcerer. Eventually he loved knowledge, or said that he loved knowledge. He loved knowledge so much that he lost his eye. So he has one-eyed. Okay? He's one-eyed. But he loves knowledge. Now he learns knowledge from different places in order to take over. That's the intent of the knowledge. Okay? So this Odin eventually ends up dying in spirit form, and he's elected and he becomes this god. And so and this is one version of the story, that part. Some parts has him starting off as a god. This Odin, there's this place called Valhalla. Valhalla is their word for paradise, but in Valhalla you get to go to Valhalla just through killing. I'm not talking about the concept in Islam where you defend your family, you defend your faith, and you get to go to Jannah. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you, the more you kill people, the more Odin is pleased with you, and the more you go to paradise. Okay? And when you get to paradise, you get to go to war too. Valhalla. V-A-L-H-A-L-A-H. Okay? So, that's not even the craziest part. The other part, and they kept that in their secret society. See, this is what they keep secret in their secret society, meaning they go by it still. Okay? And they have the power. Right? And they conquer. Okay? And they form secret societies to keep it to themselves. And they initiate certain people. It doesn't matter your color, but you will always be under them, though. So don't get it wrong. They've learned to accept different colors to an extent, but you will always be under them because there's a sort of hierarchy. There's a hierarchy system. Okay? Now, the creation story goes like this. So Odin creates, and he creates this giant. This giant is called the Ymir. Some people say the Hymir. And I believe it's spelled Y-I-M-R. This Ymir, some of the stories starts doing all crazy stuff or whatever. Some stories it don't. But the concept is this. Odin kills this giant. So keep that word in mind, killing. Okay? This is where you get, what I'm about to tell you is, this is where you get the concept, through disorder comes order. Through chaos comes order. And there's concept about new world order. Okay? New world structure. Okay? They don't believe, and I'm going to finish the story, but they don't believe that life or any type of organization or type of order can come about unless death comes first. So, in the story of Odin, he kills this Ymir, this giant. And I'm paraphrasing here. From his head, it said the sky was made. Understand what they're saying? From his head, from his blood, from his head, from his skull, the sky was made. From his blood, the water of the earth, the waters in the heavens and earth was made. From his skin, the world around you was made. Okay? So, in their concept is that life and organization can only come through death and killing and destruction. Okay? The Vikings carried that so much in their culture that when a wife of a man died, or when a woman that was promised to a man, or whatever you want to call it, died, okay, they took the wife and everyone in the villages around would have sex with her. And then they would bury her alive with her husband. Because to them, sex, of course we know sex is life and pleasure. So to them, killing is pleasurable. Right? Death and killing is pleasurable. Right? And in order to have life, you have to have, basically you have to have death. You have to have, destruction. So this is one of the main reasons why in these secret societies they teach this type of concept. This is why they would make, GMO foods to kill off a certain population, or they believe in depopulation of a certain amount of people. Okay, this is why they eat the same food sometimes, and they would put chemicals in the food, knowing it's going to kill people, because to them, unless you have death, unless you have destruction and chaos, you can't have life. You can't have structure. You can't have a new order. Okay? So, this is where the concepts, later on, the sacrifice, sacrifice somebody to save humanity. I ain't talking about in the protecting your family way. I'm talking about human sacrifices of people to the gods in order to save people. Okay, so this ideology spread in many different ways. And the Vikings conquered a lot because of that. A lot of people didn't have that concept. So now, their concept of right and wrong, there's no such thing as right and wrong. Okay? In a secret society, there's nothing. The only thing that may be close to something being right is if it conquering, if we agree that we're going to do these certain things so that as a strategy, we can stay in power, then that is what's right. Other than that, morality, they don't believe in that. There's no such thing as morality, because I'm saying there's a such thing, but to them there's no such thing as that, because that is strictly a monotheistic cultural concept to them. That is not their culture originally to them. You see? So they're not going to push that. That's what they're not going to go by. So what they do is they know the masses, and this connects into religious corruption now. They know that the masses have accepted monotheism, or, something to do with, the prophets that Allah sent. I'll say it like that. But the prophets came to correct what? Moral behavior. So they know people have adopted this understanding. So what do? They have people in secret societies who join the religions, right? They join Christianity, Islam, the Judaism, whatever you want to call it. And then on the secret, they do corrupt acts. Stuff that me and you agree that are corrupt. But to them, they're not corrupt. They will get a person. Listen, this is how crazy they are. Remember I told you Odin's symbol was that he learns knowledge. But it's to take over and conquer. But they don't believe in morality, what me and you believe in. Right? Thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not cover thy neighbor's wife. Don't spread facade throughout the earth. They don't believe none of that. They believe in strategies to achieve what they want to achieve. And they believe that death is a must for life to happen. So if you read the Quran, it says there's a type of man in the life of this world. He calls the Creator to witness what's in his heart. but he's the most vicious of enemies. When he turns his back, his aim is to spread corruption, mischief, and destroy the crops and the cattle on the face of the earth. When he is told fear Allah or fear the Creator, he is thereby led to more sin, more corruption. See, that's them secret societies. They're the ones that turn and go alter the crops and cattle and people's lives and kill people and want to alter their genes and want to mess with viruses and want to feed extra proteins, and they use and they learn knowledge, but they use it to deceive people in an opposite manner, in a corrupt manner. You see, they alter things. That's what they're about, altering and taking over. So there's that type of man and woman in this world. They make secret councils for these type of plots and plans and strategies, because that's all they're into. They're not into morality. They call that their hearts was the Creator. They call people to witness about the Creator in their heart, but they don't really believe in that Creator, because when they turn their backs, their aim, their mission is to destroy the crops, alter the cattle, take people's lives. That's their aim, because that's their beliefs. There is no morality. They don't believe it. So that's what we're dealing with. They run they're trying to get monopoly of all the medical. They're trying to form these corporations, and now we got the United this and United that. So they just alter all that stuff. So we are under an Odinistic. Don't let them fool you. They keep talking about ancient Egypt. Listen, yeah. Horus, we know with Shirk, different things like that. But in ancient Egypt, you have monotheists and polytheists, okay? And they use the same symbols, because a symbol is only important to the type of concept that you are putting with it. See, you can take Allah's names, like Allah says in the Quran, and people pervert the names of Allah. You see? So, yeah, Horus or Heru, which originally was just a bird. It was a bird that had farsightedness, that would go up into the heavens, that would swoop down on its enemy. It had farsightedness. It became the symbol of wisdom. And then they said, because you can see really great when the sun is out, they said, we're going to call that Heru too, Horus too, right? So they attached that symbol to that, right? Then the pictures they have, some of Horus, he has one eye, but usually Horus has two eyes. He doesn't have one eye, okay? But when these British, Scottish Rite Freemasons, okay, the descendants of Odin, dynastic belief at the top, I'm talking about at the top, I'm not talking about lower level Freemasonry, who can have any religion, right? And but who use that for those at the top to be able to take over, okay? When they went into Egypt, the British, under colonialism time, they were grave robbing in Egypt. So they came up on certain symbols, so they said, you know what? We're going to use the one-eyed understanding with the pyramid, and we're going to hide behind an Egyptian facade. We're going to hide behind an Egyptian symbols. But what you don't understand is the original one-eyed, for real one-eyed, is Odin. It's Odin. Their culture. The British, the English, the French, the Swedes, Switzerland, etc., etc., the different branches of them. They originally come from the Vikings, who believed in Odin. Right? So, that's what we got to understand as part of the secret that's kept. Well, if that's a secret, how come you know? Because I studied the culture. I studied their culture. You see? I even tapped into some people that was into that. Now, you got some of them putting a facade on in certain lodges that have been taken over by Christianity and stuff like that. But the certain lower grade Freemasonry won't allow a person who openly proclaims that he practices Odinism, won't allow them into a lodge, right? But they'll allow every other, belief, you see, religion and stuff like that. So That could throw somebody off. But don't be thrown off. All you got to do is trace it from its origin. You see, the Scottish Rite, Freemasonry, the Scots, the Brits, English, and stuff like that's all interconnected, right? So, I mean, and then we speak English in the United States, and then, colonialism and all that, what happened, right? So, that's what we got going on right now. That's what we got going on right now. That's who running stuff. So, back to my original whole issue, wrapping this all in together. When you look at a person, don't choose the person, that corrupt politician. Look at the issue, that specific issue that they're talking about. Are they right or wrong? See, now on this medical issue, yeah, I by viewing it and comparing it and knowing, I say, okay, Trump's right on this. Does that mean I like Trump? Hell no. Does that mean I'm a Trump supporter? Hell no. You see what I'm saying? I just recognize that on this one issue, he is right, because now what he can do, he's right on this issue. This guy now knows he's as a politician, he can take this one issue that he's right about and use it for his campaign maybe later. See how that works? So, the UN and the CDC and all them, they're going to have issues that they're right about too. Doesn't mean they're not corrupt. And it doesn't mean that they're not wrong. And it doesn't mean that they don't got the agenda that they've been having, that they are pushing. And right now they're on the wrong. See? Because it's all part of that whole process that I just mentioned, from the Vikings all the way on up. They've been wanting to conquer all this. And their families just changed their names. And yeah, they've added some people from Africa in their stuff, some people from Asia in their stuff. They've added that. But those people will always be a slave on the bottom of the pyramid. Okay? Always a slave on the bottom. Or in the middle. Whatever you want. But you'll never be at the top. Because they made sure that they want to run that. So like I said, they have no right to have control over the airs and the waters and the earth. And tell us the people what that they gonna do this and that. I didn't sign up to get my life took. You see what I'm saying? Do that to yourself in your personal life. Do that with your personal food, that bowl right in front of you. You want to kill yourself? Kill yourself if you want to. I don't support nobody killing themselves at all. But if that's what you're going to do, then that is what you're going to do. But don't come out here and water and air that we all share, and then transgress against all of us because you have an agenda. You see, I don't believe, and people be like, and see, well, that'll get into something else. I'm not even gonna get into that, because my view has become so different with what I'm studying, cracking this Quran open and really just going through history. I'm like, the Adam, and the person don't believe in the word Adam, but the first man that was in the garden, or the forest, that came up out the forest, that type of lifestyle between him and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There was only Allah, there was the command of Allah, and then there was Iblis, and that was it. There was no imam, there was no sultan, no king, no ruler, no nothing. See? And the aim of the prophets was come to give you the moral laws and codes of the books. You see, to judge you, to bring you forth that judgment, so we knew how to live right. After we left the garden, after we left the forests. Okay? That's been the aim. But what has happened is we've come to accept kings and rulers and centralized government over our lives to the point that you can hardly check them. Now, if a person don't deep down think to themselves, they don't realize that in a way the world is under shirk when they do that. I know it's a weird way of saying shirk, and people don't want to understand it like that, but think about it. Who is your Lord? A Lord is what? One who controls over your affairs. But the people so hard-headed throughout the centuries, they keep wanting to set up kings and queens and governments and empires. So Allah gives you rules according to that level. But there's a higher level. There's the original level that you're really supposed to go back to. And if I say this, most people will turn it off and be like, oh, no, I'm not hearing that. Right? Because people ain't ready to understand that original monotheism has no priests, has no imams, has no governments, has no rulers except Allah. Allah's the one who gives you the rules, and you together follow the clear rules. That's how people used to live in the forest life. But we come away from that, and people develop. With the starting of out of the forest, when people came out the forest, they developed into what? Farmers. Architecture. Building buildings. Right? So you have three ways of living. Those who lived in the forest life, they would set up tents. You see them. Build little, what you want to call huts or whatever in the language. And just live off the fruits. Animals down there by the water, they go get something to eat. They all share the food. See? No kings. No emperors. No somebody having organized structure over your society. Yeah, they might have a medicine man. If a person gets sick, a person might have studied medicine more than everybody else. So they say, what medicines do I take? They get the medicine. They go about their way. See? Later on in history, what do? Come up out the forest, what do? Well, we start owning land. Instead of just dwelling on the land and sharing it, we started claiming farmland, right? Oh, I'm going to farm. This is my piece. I got to get the seeds. I got to grow. That's where the word, matter of fact, kafir originates from. Kafir, or kufar, or however you want to, kufar is plural, but kafir originally means a person who plants a seed and covers it. Right? Because they left the forest life. They left the Jannah. They left the garden life. Right? In the garden life and in the forest, the fruits and vegetables and all that stuff is already there. You rely completely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have no emperors. You have no kings. You have no centralized governments. You have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah. There's only one God, one Lord. Rabbil Alameen, Lord and Cherisher of the worlds. Worlds including the heaven and the earth. And He provides from you. Rizaq. He gives you the risk. Right? So there's no priest at that time. No imam at that time. Right? Imams come later. When the command of Allah comes from a prophet, or the prophet gets the command, he shows you the command, he's leading you on that. He's leading you back to the command of Allah. Okay? A sultan, that word, that became authority or permission. Eventually they say the sultan is a ruler, a king. But that context of the word came later on from the original meaning of the word. Okay? And that only came because, honestly, people who were into the laws of who followed the prophets, they saw the Zalimeen or the Zalimun, the wrongdoing nations, the idol worshippers, how they had, emperors and the hierarchy and structure, and they wanted something like that. So they desired it so much that they kept asking for it. So the Creator finally just, that's what you're trying to strive for. Allah's not going to force you. You want that? Well, here's some rules to go by. Okay? Yeah, you need to be just. Understand this test that you're taking, you be unjust, you'll be punished. See? But that's not the original thing the law wanted us to do, though. But that is the way that we have become. But understand something. Here's the big test. And here's the building blocks I want you to see. That all led up to now. Because man wants power over everybody else. Every man is within himself. They women to want power over others. And now this has grown so much to the point that instead of people just having stuff and recognizing Allah is the only power, and sharing with their fellow men and the, women. The earth, we see, originally Khalifa was just the successor on the earth after others. And we caretake this earth, right? Right? We share this earth. We make, but sultan, people want to take it and make it a sultan and have a king or a ruler, because that king or ruler does what? Goes to war. Goes to war. It conquers. Right? We want power. So what happens is, people at first were using the name of God, name of Allah, to conquer, for conquering's sake. But now we've led up to a point. I'm talking about during the time of Bani Israel too. Israel, and you know what? What's even crazier, and I don't have the verse, but there's even one in the Bible, surprisingly. It even mentions something where, and this coincides with a lot of other history. I forget, I think it was in Samuel. It was a long time ago already. But now it's coming more to my forefront the more I reflect on stuff. It was like the children of Israel wanted a king. The prophet told them, no, that's not what we do. That is what the idol-worshiping nations do. We don't do that. We have a Lord, basically, right? Something like that. They kept pushing it, and then finally said, okay. The prophet said, okay. He was given the okay, that's what they wanted. So that prophet appointed a certain person who was known to have some justice about them over them. But you got to understand the original concept of the creator, even in that story, was like, no, that's not something you want to do. Just like with Adam in the garden. He said, don't go near that tree. That was the command. Adam went near the tree. So now we get kicked out the garden or the forest, and now we're given these rules of morality to live by, that really, if you live in your life, if every person lives them according to their life, they don't need a king or ruler. They don't. Think about it. Don't kill, don't steal, don't commit highway robbery, don't commit fornication. If someone violates most of the laws are willingly. If you willingly submit to Allah, you're going to go by them. If you're a person who has fear of Allah, conscious of Allah, you would rather the punishment in this world than the next. So you will willingly submit to the punishment if you transgress, because you're a believer. If you don't, Allah gets you in the next world. But in the meantime, we're going to excommunicate you. Get away from us, because you're doing corrupt, vile stuff on the face of the earth. See? And how it all comes together is the people do shura. They do consultation. The community does consultation. They agree, we want you away from us. You don't need a king and a ruler to have order in society. But we made it into that. You see? We made it into that. So then we were given rules of morality that could fluctuate and work if we have a king or we don't have a king. If we have a ruler or we don't have a ruler. See? Because there's something in here that expresses itself outwards. But people want power over other people. And people want to control other people. And so what has happened now is we're here now. You have the most vile, cunning, evil people who have that mentality, who in their culture, and I won't see just one people. They have spread that mentality everywhere. Right? But they're the bosses of it. They're the leaders of it. They make sure they monopolize it. See? Now we're at a period where it's a new world order. A new world economy. You got people doing strategies with viruses and all type of stuff. Only because people before us led us to here. People want power over people. Instead of their Lord. There's one Lord. Not many. I was having a conversation one day with a couple of brothers, and they was like, man, you're bugging out. I was like, man, you're bugging out. But I was serious though. I said, well, let's think about this though. That's what's going on. You know, I lost my train of thought. But that's what I didn't lose the conversation. The one part of the conversation, but I lost the connecting point that I wanted to connect to it. But we was having that conversation about, you know, rulers and leaders and stuff like that. Priesthood, because that's included. Priesthoods, imams, and the necessity, right? The necessity of having it. If you have your Lord, who is your Lord, who reveals, who sends the prophets, they come to you with the books, you know, they give you the rules that society's supposed to live by, and everybody, if they willingly submit to Allah, they'll go by them. If they don't, you excommunicate them, because we don't want your corruption among us, right? So, centralized government, yeah, Muslims, we you know, according to some histories and hadith books and stuff, hadith books to me, you know, my position, their history, you know, got corrupted, you know, but they're not, you know, I don't take my creed or nothing, you know, I take that from the Quran. But we understand history, though. People started forming, you know, governments to rule over other people. Instead of like a man or a woman within their house who have children and they're actually responsible morally to them children. So they will watch over them. And some cultures developed that concept and said, well, this man's the father of the nation, or that woman is the queen is the mother of the nations. You know, and these type of linguistics develop from languages. So even into the Arabic, like the word umma comes from the word ummi, which is mother. You know, the word abu is father, you know, but you go into the Hebrew, the alif, bet, you know, you know, I mean, the alif, what was it? Alif means head. Bait, which means house or tent, actually, right? Which is ab, right? And eventually, because the head of the house or the head of the tent in certain culture, especially Semitic culture, became the father. So the word ab got its derivatives, which became abu, abba, and so people stuck the terminology father to it, and then next thing you know, the children of Israel, being from a Semitic culture, they took the word abba even further and applied the word father to the creator. Right? So, I mean, you know, these things have been evolving over the course of centuries. You see? It's crazy. So we're here now with it. You know? And so now we got this junk of a new world order. You know? Because the world, regardless of what language you spoke, was not satisfied. Ultimately, it comes down to was not satisfied with your Rabb, the one and only Lord, who created all things, of having the absolute power. And you just live in the forest, live in the gardens, and just eat the fruit and vegetables and whatever else is there that's provided for you. But instead, people went to wanting to own specific things and own this part, and I'm going to own it and rule that, and I want yours too. I'm a lord along with, you know, so they became lords with Allah, or they thought so. So Allah allowed them to do that, you know. Hey, no. Oh, that's nice. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. That's beautiful. Okay, so listen, I'm live real quick, and then I'll be down there, all right?
Okay, Mom keeps saying
thank. Okay. So that's you know basically what it is. Now, so eventually you have people that became more learned and more spiritually in tuned as far as the moral laws and stuff, and so they start pointing people to the commands of Allah, and they became known as imams. A lot of them were prophets, right? Matter of fact, all the prophets were imams, okay? Especially among Bani Israel. So you had them who would point out the commands of Allah to you. Then we entered into another period where people try to claim those same titles, and but they add their own rules and their own laws instead of the laws of Allah, and call themselves the imams too. You see what I'm saying? And so those are just people who repackaged the old way of having control over people, just like kings and rulers want to have, right? And last thing I'll say about that is how that all eventually unfolds is simply that when we left the forest, when we left Jana in the forest and all that, we started farming. So when you have a farm, you need workers. You need workers. So that began the hierarchy. See, they had to have workers to help them on the farm or run the farm, and so you had boss, and then those who served, and eventually became master, and then eventually became slave. See what I'm saying? So and that began the world, basically the basic concept. I'm not going to extensive. The basic concept of having power over others. And later on came kingships and rulers and all that, right? We need to go back to original Adamic state, if you want to call it that, or the first man state, where we just all share, man. We go by the commands of Allah. It's right there. It's clear. Don't kill. Don't steal. Don't do this. All of us agree, willingly submit to Allah, whatever language you call it in your culture. And then you don't need no rulers, no centralized government. See? That came later. And I know it's hard for people to understand that, and they're going to quote some stuff, but they don't understand the sequence. You see, how that happened. And then, Ali, I know about Alul Bayt and the concept of Alul Bayt, brother. I just never said nothing to you. I understand the concept. Yes, Allah is the ruler, but people want to be rulers with Allah. See what I'm saying? The Alul Bayt's imams, imamiyah, you know, yeah, they the knowledge of the Quran, and you know, I won't get into all that, but they have knowledge of the Quran, morality, and they just point the commands of Allah out to you, and then you're guided. But people took that and twisted that into you need rulers, and that's my point. You need centralized government. See, people mix stuff is what I'm saying. See, and histories were written that's justified. You know, so he said Alul Bayt are the chosen rulers. Yeah, people say different. That's my whole point. How about we don't have no rulers? How about that? How about we don't have no rulers? How about we end that? Let that be the real, the original world order. Forget a new world order, or an old world order, or an order where people keep transgressing and don't just accept one Lord and one ruler. See? They even wrote in Hadith books, some Hadith historicals, Carter Ridge was teaching that. I mean, it's you guys just don't understand how many levels this goes, man. You know. And I know I'm speaking foreign. I know it doesn't go with, because it just, I'm not even going to get into that. I might, you know, do another video of that. But you don't need no rulers. You see what rulers got you. Righteous or unrighteous. I know they're going to bring up King Solomon and you know, even Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman and the four right guided caliphs, or the Alul Bayt, you know, and Imam Ali and them, and even before them, you know. But what people don't understand is about sequence. You see, process is that at first we didn't have no rulers, but we did have the Siratul Mustaqim. We had the straight path. You see what I'm saying? We had the Surah 6, 151, Ayat 153 to 153. We had the straight path rules even before then. Remember, Iblis said he's going to attack you on the straight path. He's going to attack you on the straight path. He's going to attack you on the straight path. So we didn't have no rulers. We didn't have no sultans. We didn't have none of that. But we had the straight path. We had the rules from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala how to live. Adam, at his time, was given one command. Don't go near the tree. And that was directly from his Lord. You see what I'm saying? But the Siratul Mustaqim existed before Alul Bayt, Ali. If Alul Bayt is on the Siratul Mustaqim, and that's another concept we got to get clear. Sirat al-Mustaqim, the straight path or the right way to live. Ahlul Bayt are human beings who need to live according to the straight path. The four caliphs and the companions, whatever other name people want to say it, also the believers, they all, even the prophets, we all have to bow on the straight path. There is only one God and one Lord. Right? And we are just reminders to each other about what those rules are. That's it. That's how simple it was. But we have taken imams and we have taken companions, and in other religions they became sects. They took Jesus, and other religions they broke off in a sect and they took Musa alayhum salam upon all them, peace be upon all them, and they made them lords besides Allah, putting them into a category what they don't need. See, and now me and you, we regurgitate the transgression. But I reject that now. You see, I reject all that now. I accept that servants of Allah, whether they got the title Ahlul Bayt, Sahaba, whether they got the title Musa, Isa, all of them are supposed to be on Sirat al-Mustaqim. The Sirat al-Mustaqim is the commands of Allah that are clear. How we're supposed to live. Go look up Surah 6, Ayah 151, 153. You see? And that is the fact. And regardless of culture, even if we took it away from Arabic and, went to ancient Africa, African cultures, and Allah made all the languages, right? Allah made all the languages, right? So, there's commands that we're all supposed to go by that's common. Okay? When Allah say don't steal and don't kill, that's in all languages. You don't need it just in Arabic. You see? So, when you want to exalt the companions of the Prophet or anybody who came to just remind you about the commands of Allah, who came to remind you, Ali, you're dealing with sectarianism that's misinterpreted. I don't want to go at you, brother, but like you just said, ask Ahlul Dhikr if you don't know. Do you know that is part of an ayat that you just quoted? Don't you know there's sentences before that, words, if you don't ask those who know? Go look on my Facebook page. I put it on there. All the ayats that say that in the Quran. And nowhere does it say go to, I'm not saying that you can't, if somebody is studying with you or something like that and they got more knowledge on the commands of Allah, that you can't say, hey, what you study, and you guys sit down and learn something together. I'm not saying that, so don't get it wrong. So that goes for in the time Ahlul Bayt, when Ahlul Bayt, they was around teaching people, the commands of Allah, and other people didn't have time to study as much as them, and they learned the commands of Allah. Okay, alhamdulillah. But I'm talking about specifically when you say ask those who know, that verse that you're referring to is the pagans didn't believe that Allah sent human prophets. So the prophet was told, and the pagans were told, that Allah sent men who had revelation. There was men who were prophets, and if you don't know, ask those who know. And it was referring to those who had the scriptures before, the Christians and Jews, who would say, well, there was a person named Moses. He was sent by Allah with a command. So there are human prophets. You see what I'm saying? So the whole point of that ayat is about human prophets. And the mushrikeen did not believe, the pagans did not believe in Muhammad's time that there were human prophets. They thought Prophet Muhammad was making that up. And Prophet Muhammad a little bit was in doubt if he was, had been chosen to be a messenger of Allah. So that ayat came about, saying, hey, if you don't believe that there's human prophets, ask those who had the scripture before you. They'll tell you there's human prophets. That's all that was about. See, so some Sunnis and some Shia have taken that verse, spliced it, and added more. See what I'm saying? More concept to it than what it is. And that all goes back to people are trying to push people to have power and rulership more than what they are supposed to do. I'm going to end it on this. It's simple. There's only one Lord. Originally, there's one Lord, there's only one ruler. The command was sent by him through prophets. We got the commands. We're supposed to remind each other what are the muhakimat. Clear verses or clear commands of Allah. Don't steal, don't kill, treat your neighbors right, the near and the far, give zakat, help the orphan. Those are the good deeds that we're supposed to be doing. You see what I'm saying? And we're supposed to build that. You see? And the wrong things Allah told us to do, not to do, are simple. Don't kill, don't steal. You see what I'm saying? Don't cause mischief on the earth. Highway robbery. Those are the wrong deeds or bad deeds Allah told us not to do. And we are supposed to enjoin each other, remind each other not to do those. And the good things He told us to do: give charity, help the neighbor near and far, help the orphans, free the slave. Those deeds that Allah has told us to do, we urge each other to do. And that was the simple Sirat al-Mustaqim, my brothers and sisters. You don't need no rulers and you don't need no emperors to have that. You just need to willingly submit to Allah. That was the original way. See? But as course of time happened, we began to act like the transgressing nations, and we wanted rulers and powers, and so Allah said, okay, you really want that, right? Here's the rules. Even a ruler is supposed to be just. But now here we are today with these demons, if you want to call it that, these transgressors who want a new world order and one world economy. All because people want power. Or they want to put their guy or their woman to be powerful over everybody else. You see? When we were supposed to all just be sharing this and live according to the rules Allah gave all of us equally. See? And when one person studies it more, they just remind the person. See? And if people want to cause corruption, you excommunicate them away from you. You see? It was that simple at first. So I'm going to leave it at that. I know it's different, but it is what it is. So again, these politicians, you don't need no ruler. They even hate when you say that. You don't need no ruler. You don't need no centralized government. Muslim or non-Muslim. SubhanAllah. Muslim or non-Muslim. You need the commands of Allah. And if you are a willing servant of Allah, you will submit to them. The clear, hear me out, muhakimat, the clear verses. I'm not talking about allegorical that somebody makes mass interpretations of, you know, and it's this way and that way and this way. No, none of that. That's for your individual self. If Allah gave you as an individual a certain level of understanding of the mutashabihat, the allegorical verses, that's for you. But muhakimat verses, clear verses. And clear, I mean clear. Don't steal, don't kill. Help your neighbor. The near and the far. I keep saying it, but I'm going to say it again. Right? Help the orphan. Free the slave. Yeah? Do remembrance of Allah. Call on your Lord. That's the Sirat al-Mustaqim. All you got to do is look it up. Surah 6, 151, 153. That was revealed after Al-Fatiha. When you were saying Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim, where He gave you the other ayat later on, Surah 6, ayat 151, 153. Therein is your Sirat al-Mustaqim. Follow those rules. The do's and the don'ts of it. Surah 6, ayat 151, 153. See? So, that's it. And I know people are going to be like, oh man, that's stupid. That's okay. Keep wanting people to be your rulers and they're powerful over you other than Allah. You keep doing that. That's why we got what's going on now. People's heart, they want to be the Lord. But there's only one Lord. And that's why He gives you commands. For all of us equally to go by them. But you want rulers though. Oh, one brother asked me one time, and I'll go, well, what about if someone commits a crime? They don't get it. Allah told you, do shura, consultation. For fasad or fitna, you can kick them away, excommunicate them. Or if Allah's made a clear ruling on that issue, then the whole society implements. And if they want to, they can choose one person to implement it while they all watch. And then once that duty's done, that person goes back to being a normal person. He's already normal anyway, or she's already normal anyway. See? They don't hold a title in an office. That don't mean you take that person and make them the watcher over everybody all the time, every day, and make them a certain rank, and then they're just forever that rank. So they're like a lord over you. No, that's how people become corrupt. But you want it. But you want rulers. You want kings. So welcome to what the final transgression is. A new world order. Because that desire should have been checked. And that's why I tell people, I don't want to be your ruler. I don't want to be your king. I don't want to be your emperor. Allah's the Lord. Allah's Al-Malik. Allah's the Rab. I don't want to be a Rab, and I don't want to be a king. I'm a servant of Allah. Allah gives us commands, Amr, and we live our life according to it. It's that simple. But we're fooled. Nowadays, Muslims, Christians, Jews, and all type of beliefs, they all need a priest. They all need a king. They all need a president. They all need a governor, a government. Instead of the Lord. And they say, oh, brother, there's verses in the Quran that says it was King Solomon. What about that? There's no, Abu Bakr was Caliph. And Umar Ali, they don't understand, people that say that they don't understand process of history. See? They don't understand process. Yeah, we got into that, but we people kept pushing that. Allah didn't originally want you to have that. Khalifa, that's just some people that come after somebody else. It wasn't even originally a political designation. You see, it's just one people coming after another people. And we live on the earth. And we do what? We help each other. We help each other. Right? But even that term got politicized and turned into something else. Because the problem is not what Allah has sent. The problem is the hearts of people want to rule. They want power. So now we're trapped with the most transgressive people that have developed a transgressive power and act as your Lord. Act as my Lord. Act like they're Allah. Because we, honestly, we did lip service. We do salat and all that. But we turn around. We want rulers and kings and queens and emperors and empresses. Instead of just being just straight servants who just remind themselves about the commands of Allah. Here's the command of Allah right here written. Here's how we live our life. And we all agree. They take every term and twist it, you know. He's the Imam. And Imam does what? Depending on different people, they do different. But an Imam is just one who points out the commands of Allah. He knows the commands of Allah, he points. He guides you. He's your leader. He leads you back to the commands of Allah. He don't lead you to himself. Alhamdulillah. Well, all right. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May Allah bless all of you and your families. And try our best to live on Sirat al-Mustaqim. You know. Remember this. La ilaha illallah. Wahdahu la sharika lah. It's one Lord. He has no partner. All senses. But Allah will let you. It will let you. And He's been letting us. And we're in a lot of problems now. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi. Keep yourself healthy best as you can. And Allah bless you and your families. I just saw some words. Ashraf Adams. Salam. Love your teachings. Love your teachings. Oh, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sister Ashraf Ad. Um, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Servant of Allah. I can't. I'm trying to look at the words, but I won't claim they're my teachings. I have to go look up the word teaching. I've never did that, and I look up every other word that I try to, come across. So I have to look it up. But from right now, I'm gonna say I'm not the teacher. I just, no, I just a reminder, I guess. You know, uh, may Allah bless you all. But yeah, then no one could accept that. And I did say I was gonna end it, so I end it right now, right after this. But yeah, go look at the video if it's up. I hope it's not breaking up or chopped or whatever. You'll see what I've been talking about. But basically, that's basically my short, if you want to call that breakdown of, you know, originally having rulers and kings and queens and empresses and emperors and all this and that, and the understanding that I've been more and more just reading in the Book of Allah and and realizing this is all messed up. Muslim and non-Muslim, it's all messed up. They've altered many different understandings, terminology. On the day of judgment, people are gonna go and they're gonna swear to Allah they're not mushrikeen. We're not souls associate partners with you, or Allah. And Allah's gonna say, yes, you were. You were. Because, like I keep pointing out, Adam and the Jannah in the garden, there was no rulers, no centralized government, but there was the command of Allah. There was the command of Allah. So, go to the beginning of the video, see how it started off, and inshallah, you get something out of it. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And may Allah bless all of you. Indeed.